It all began when Ted Goldthorpe arrived on the St. Andrews campus. This friendly, outgoing, handsome fella began dating my roommate, and thus we became friends as well. I think I even had a hand in his election to the student council at St. Andrews. It was always Ted and Itice. I don't remember when Ted was not part of the fixtures in the parlor of Wilmington dorm. And on January 25th, 1964, you made it official. There is no way that I will ever forget that rainy weekend 50 years ago when you both changed roommates.
One of the things that I think it was a Thanksgiving before your mother, I know it was before they were married, and your mother came in and asked Francis or I on permission to go in and wake Ted up. This was about 11 o'clock in the morning, probably at least that, and
that charm, that smile, and I think it made Ted complete, and I think Ted did the same.
On our fourth anniversary, excuse me, Barbara and Charles Johnson, Itice's high school girlfriend, joined the four of us, and we went to Asheville. And I remember going to the Grove Park Inn, and we went up to the top of Mount Mitchell. Anyway,
I was in the Air Force and Turner Air Force Base, Albany, Georgia, getting called that there was going to be a shotgun wedding in Wilmington for my sister. I remember me, my brothers Jim and Jerry, we sat up on the front row, watched take our sister away from us, but it was a very good thing for the family. We didn't really get rid of our sister, but we got another brother.
I remember over 50 years ago when my funny Uncle Teddy brought this very attractive woman with a beautiful smile home for a visit. The next thing I knew, they were getting married. Believe it or not, I was asked to be in my very first wedding. What a thrill that was. I felt like such a grown-up. They were always the fun aunt and uncle. Then, to seal the deal, they had their first baby on my birthday. After 50 years, Itice has never lost her bright smile and positive attitude, and Ted is still telling his goofy jokes.
I can remember at your wedding thinking, gee, I hope it happens for me this way, because I think you married one of the coolest, funniest guys that I had known for several years at that time, and I was blown away about how gorgeous and how nice you were and how wonderful the Rivenbarks were in Wilmington. And driving away in the sunset in a Corvair Monza convertible, I believe, maybe it was blue, I was thinking, man, it can't get any better than that.
It was 1966 when Susie and Ted joined the St. Giles Christian Church. Ted, you remember when you were at St. Giles and you used to come through the church office and sit down and talk to me a few minutes and share things about being a deacon and all that good stuff. Itice, you, and I can remember having lunch with you and Alma O'Shea's. We need to have lunch again, Miss Itice.
I met Ted and Susie when I moved to Rose Valley Drive in 1965. We would get together during the day and let the children play together. I had to, and she had to. In 1973, after my husband died, Susie suggested I date Bill McMullen. And she said that he had never been married and he was a lawyer. And I thought, maybe. So she had him, of course, give me a call initially. And the call led to a date, and the date led to marriage, and we will be married 40 years this coming July.
Was at the Hungry Fisherman, and I was the manager, and you guys came in with your two children that had on this cute little red suit, and you said to me, "I'm Jim Prentice's Tucker." And I thought, well, that is just great.
And, of course, I remember as a younger teen, we had the house at Lake Wiley, and you all lived down in Fort Mill, and Ted had the big racing boat with the big engine on it, and he would come up there. And, of course, my dad had the little old slow boat, and, of course, I always thought Ted was just such a cool guy, and I knew I always wanted to be like him when I grew up.
We were in mobile homes in Wyoming, and Teddy spent time each street stop to level those big motor homes, and it took so long to do it. And George would sit there having his martini, making fun of him.
He took me to CK out to meet his wife, Susie. Well, she pulled me aside and told me her real name was Itice, but Ted called her Susie because Itice was too hard to say. So I called her Itice from then on. One time we were on a trip to St. Martin, and Ted wanted to go to Orient Beach. And Itice found out it was a nude beach and decided she'd stay with the girls. So we walked down the beach to a bar. Inside the bar, there was two couples, all naked as a jaybird. So we walked up to the bar and ordered drinks. And, well, you know Ted, he has to ask a million questions. So he started talking to the closest naked man. The man told Ted his name and said he sold restaurant equipment. Ted said, well, I've worked for Shoney's South and did advertising for them with spy advertising. And the man said, you must be Ted Goldthorpe.
Thanksgivings were built around the Goldthorpes. And how did one know when they'd arrived? They would swing in big. Ted and Itice were never ones to make a quiet, demure entrance. You always knew when they got there. They were loud, often clapping hands together and looking for the party to begin. Never to be outdone, both Ted and Itice were the latest in fashion. They were very, very mod.
Ted and Itice were, of course, our Thanksgiving get-togethers, and Ted being his usual talkative, loud self, and, of course, the 25 napkins at dinner, which, unfortunately, I have that same habit myself, which maybe I got from him. But
how many napkins does it take to get through a meal? For most people, it takes one. For Ted, it would take 72. I always remember him wadding up those napkins and needing another one.
And then I can still picture him spooning that cranberry sherbet like somebody was going to steal.
Also, every year at Thanksgiving, we'd see the trifle. Every year, I just brought the dessert, and it was always trifle. Did anybody ever actually eat it?
And then I remember one year I had a Oldsmobile 442, super fast car. I was probably 16, 17. Of course, after dinner, Ted wanted to take it out for a test drive, and he drives like he does everything else. I was scared to death and thought he was going to kill both of us out there racing around the neighborhood in that thing. Ted was, always big man on campus, big talker, always in charge of things, or at least I thought so until later in life, and we quickly figured out Itice is the one that really runs the show, as probably is true in most marriages. But
Susie was a great tennis player. Needless to say, she held me up. How did she put up with me all those Mondays? And Ted, you were a hoot. I remember you really brought down the house with lots of laughter when he got on the Fort Mill Community Playhouse stage.
about the Itice cooking, and my favorite line is, if you didn't know Itice is a great cook, all you have to do is ask her, she'll tell you.
My memory is when we went on our trip to the Grand Tetons, and we were all kids, and Ted's family and Itice were in one, and we were in another camper, and we had a week to date together as a family.
Gary and I have greatly enjoyed our friendship for over 30 years. We've enjoyed sharing lots of meals together, traveling together just for fun, and taking lots of ham radio trips. Remember our mystery dinner evening on the lake? You two were a smashing good-looking couple.
But I believe that our most memorable times together have been those evenings as Denny and Itice were in the kitchen talking away, Denny preparing something special, maybe a veal chop or some lamb. Itice precisely creating her famous Caesar salad, and all the while Ted and Peggy sitting in the den talking about taxes or stocks or commodities or whatever, our thoughts and philosophies on life.
I'd ask him to be the best man at my wedding, and I took my bride-to-be, Amy McAllister, with me, and we went to have dinner with Ted and Itice at their house. And about halfway through the dinner, Ted turns around, kind of looks over to where Brownie used to sit and said, "What do you think, Brownie?" Amy never said a word, being the gracious girl she was. And Ted did this about 2 or 3 more times. And we had a great time there. Got back in the car, and Amy grabs hold of my arm and says, "What the heck is this Brownie thing?" There was nothing there. He kept looking at this spot on the carpet saying, "What do you think, Brownie?" I was like, "Sweetie, Brownie is his dog, and it's been dead, and he always does that." She's like, "We've gotten a crazy man in the wedding, and she's going to turn around in the middle of the ceremony and say, 'What do you think, Brownie?'"
Our trips were so great. Finding a stream to sit and have a little wine and cheese while listening to old George Jones on the radio was just always so much fun. Streams were great, but we really had to watch Ted when we were on a boat. Boat excursions with Ted were kind of dangerous. We almost lost Teddy Pretty on a boat outing down in St. Martin one time, and again on Lake Norman. We learned that ankle-deep streams were a lot safer and a lot less stressful.
My latest memory, though, is when you all came to say goodbye to George and celebrate his life. So we all ate together, and thank you for that memory. I thought that was a very nice ending for George's life when you all came, and we were able to go there and talk about him.
Ted always had believed in me and had told me way back early on that if I graduated from college, he would give me $100. And, of course, that's back when $100 actually meant something. And 6 or 7 years later, I actually graduated from college, was still living at home with Mom and Dad, and came home one night and found a brown shoebox sitting on my bed. It had been mailed to me, and when I opened it up, it had 100 of the rattiest looking $1 bills you'd ever seen in your life, and with a small note from Ted. And I just always have remembered that to this day. That has really meant a lot to me, that he believed in me and stayed with me and showed me what kind of man he really is, to have done that and remembered that.
Marriage has been inspiration to an awful lot of us. Certainly for me, 50 years, that's quite an example to set, and I'm hoping that Judy and I are able to measure up, because you guys have embraced life, and wow, what a wonderful couple.
I'm kind of thinking about the life of Job that's lived out in the body of Ted Goldthorpe, with the spiritual angel that's lived out in Itice, protecting him from all the spears and arrows of his evil friends. And all of us would willingly open up your most expensive bottle of wine and empty it to the very last drop, celebrating it on Saturday, your anniversary. And Itice, how many years you've had to tolerate his bad jokes and his sense of humor that needs some work. In fact, this morning, even now Thursday morning, Alice Balfe is saying that she wants you to know that we are drinking right now, early in the morning, celebrating your 50 years of married together and your faithfulness to God and love of Christ. So both of you, thank you. Keep going. How about another 50? Everybody said, yay!